Hey everyone, welcome back to Underreported Stories, where I cover the news that CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News fail to report on or don't report on enough. And today, we are doing a bit of an unstructured podcast episode because as you can tell, my voice sounds like shit, guys. Truly, I have been yelling, talking, screaming, dancing, singing, all the things because I just got married. Yes, I'm so excited. And I'll be honest, I am on top of feeling like not my best, I am so bad at taking time off. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I'm just not good at stepping away from my work because I really love my work. I have the coolest job in the world. Why would I want to ever leave this, right? But I knew that for the sake of my marriage and my mental health and all these, well, that was an annoying way to say it, but just for the sake of like being with my family, I wanted to be super present and really just happy in my wedding weekend. So I took off and I seriously didn't look at the news, which for me, it's a really big deal. Okay. So I wanted to just take today to talk about my wedding. I have a major announcement for you guys. And yeah, I want to talk through some personal things and some, I don't even know. I want to opine on some things, but not any serious subjects without doing my adequate research. And my brain fog is just like off the chart right now because I drank for like 5 straight days, which I haven't done since I was in college. So anyway, here's what's on the docket for today, actually. I'm going to give you a recap of my wedding weekend. I'm going to share my favorite moments. I'm also going to share my biggest regrets. And then if you're in the Story Seekers group chat, I have a big announcement, and I'll share that after the wedding recap. I then want to hop into my thoughts on Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy interview with Kamala Harris. Specifically, I want to talk about whether Trump should go on the show. And we'll get into that. And finally, I want to address these alleged conspiracy theories about Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. So we're going to get into all of that. Let's do it. Alrighty, I'm just going to start by taking you through my wedding day gallery, which I figured would be really fun. So we really just started getting ready at the beginning of the day. If you guys are listening on Apple or Spotify, of course, I would really encourage you to come over to YouTube, Rumble, X, or Facebook to watch this because these are all pictures that I'm kind of talking through. But these pictures are my mom putting on my dress, which was so special. And in this picture, you can see the watch and the blue engagement ring on my finger. The blue engagement ring was actually my grandma's engagement ring, and as well as her watch. She's no longer with us. She passed away in 2014, and she would have loved nothing more than to be here on this day. So it was really special getting to wear that and having her be there in a way. And of course, my beautiful mother, being so fun. This was when I revealed my dress to my bridesmaids. These are all my best friends right here. Mia, Katya, Alexa, Tori, and my little sister, Jenny. She's taller than me, and I know we don't look like sisters, but truly. And seeing their reaction was just truly so cute. The saddest / cutest reaction was my dad. It's just me and my little sister, and he is like this burly, tough hockey dude. And seeing him, he absolutely lost it. I was like, Dad, stop crying. He was just so overwhelmed. Dad's in the audience. I'm sure if you've ever had a daughter get married, it was crazy. It was so sweet. It was the sweetest moment. And my bridesmaids and my mom and my sister were all sitting behind watching this moment happen. It was so sweet. You can kind of see in the background here, this barn door is cracked open a little, and you can see them all in their blue dresses. They were being so pesky. They're sitting there like nose and eyeballs through, just trying to see. It was super sweet. And my dad was so very excited for this. He used his tie to wipe his eyes. It was really funny. Then from here, again, if you're in the listening audience, you've got to come watch this because these pictures are so fun. This is where I came to say hi to Jake and do our first look. As you can see at the top, our friends gave us no privacy. I didn't want any privacy. I'm not complaining about it. But, now I will say, not a regret, but I got married on October 5th. And I thought, oh, it would be nice. October's going to be great. The weather should be like in the 70s. No, it was 93 in all the pictures you're about to see. Poor Jake's in a whole suit. I'm at least in like short sleeve dress. But still, it was brutal. But anyway, he knew I was coming. Look at his little cheesy smile. He's so cute. And he saw the dress. I cannot understand. I get it in theory, right? That we're supposed to not show our partners our wedding dress leading up to it. He's my best friend. I really wanted to show it to him. I didn't, but it took everything in me to not show him because I was like, I just want to show you what I'm wearing. right? And so it was really hard for me, honestly, to keep this in. But I did. But I also kind of didn't. I didn't show him the dress. That sounds stupid. But what I did was I went on Pinterest and I showed him different dresses. And I was like, I want you to guess what you think my dress looks like. And he really nailed it. He really had a good idea. He didn't think it was this, but in this moment, he was standing there going, oh, it's beautiful. But also, I totally knew that this is what it was going to be. He just knows my personality so well. Then he liked the back of the dress. I was doing a little butt wiggle because I'm goof. And yeah, it was just, oh my gosh, this moment. I'm like so sad it's over, but so happy. It was so fun. Oh, yay. Yeah, these are all the pictures. And then we went to go do like all of our pictures, just the two of us. We actually took our pictures next to a brewery in Nashville. So after our parents and family and friends saw our first look, they went to go get beer because they knew what was up. It was just a fun wedding. And I'll just kind of scroll through some of these pictures quickly. But we took this, again, like this is a brewery right behind us. Like right here is a brewery. But this part of Nashville is just kind of like undeveloped or is being developed. And yeah, here's your girl all dolled up on her wedding day. And a couple more. And then here's the whole wedding party again. These are our guy friends, Joey, Ross. No, we're not in the episode of Friends. Luke. This is Jake's little brother, Noah. And our friend Trent, who we lovingly call Coach Titty. Too long to explain that story. But everybody walking behind us. It was so fun. Now, this next picture you already saw. If you're in the listening audience, it is my sweet baby boy, Harper, my dog, not my human child, my doggy child, walking down the aisle with my cousin. He walked down the aisle, you guys, to Who Let the Dogs Out. Okay, the DJ turned on Who Let the Dogs Out? Who let the dogs out? Okay, jamming. Yeah, the DJ turned this on. Harper walks down the aisle, and it's about the funniest freaking thing in the world. He's in a tuxedo. Everybody's smiling and clapping. It's so funny. Okay, then here's Jake because we're like back to reality now. And my sweet dad walking me down the aisle. And this is what our ceremony looked like. This arch, oh my gosh, it was beyond my wildest dreams of what this was going to look like. But it was so pretty. Everything was, oh, here's Harper again. Everything was so beautiful. And this is us right after we got married. It was so exciting. Okay, so here's where I'm going to say my biggest regret is. It's such a little detail. So you can see I literally had no complaints about my wedding day. But right here, my veil was not in well enough. And so by the time I walked down the aisle, my veil was falling out of my hair. And then we were walking down the aisle and I looked at Jake and I said, I saw how tight the aisle is because you can kind of see we barely fit down this aisle. It was a really small aisle. And so I looked at him, I was like, no dip, because we had been practicing a dip at the end of the aisle. And I looked at it and I said, don't dip me. But it was so loud and everyone was cheering that he heard dip me. And he dipped me right into his friend Danny, and my veil came off. I just smacked someone in the head and I was like, ah, coming back up. Luckily, I don't really care about that stuff. I feel like other people would have been really traumatized by it. I was like, whatever, we're moving on. But anyway, it was, I think that was my biggest regret, was not taking the proper amount of time to put the veil in my head and sit back there and get it right. I was just just get me down this aisle. I just wanted to get married. So anyway, but as I expressed in my last episode, I was dying to get married. Anyway, here's another picture of Harp Daddy and his little mom and dad now. He's so funny. He was very anxious, but very excited. Now here is my favorite part of our wedding. 1 second, let me just put that clock away. So this is my favorite part of our wedding. Jake and I know I haven't really divulged too much of our love story on the internet, but we met at Tin Roof, which is a really ratchet college bar here in Nashville. Guys, don't judge me. I was 24. I just had never gone out in Nashville before, and this is where I was meeting people. And I met him at the bar, and so we ended up going to the bar, and I posted these on Instagram if you followed along. And yeah, we went to the bar where we fell in love and took all of our pictures here, and it was so funny. Both of us forgot our IDs, and so we're like, oh my gosh, I really hope they let us in the bars. That would be awful if we went all this way to not get let in. Clearly, I mean, what are we, child brides? We're obviously of age. Look at us. It's not like I look like an 18-year-old. But anyway, we come in, we sit down, and we're like, come to the bartender. We're like, hi, so we don't have our IDs, but can we just like sit here? We just want to take our wedding photos and we'll be out of here. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so we took a shot of water and, oh, peep this in the background. You can see Vanderbilt beating the shit out of Alabama, which was also amazing. And we're just sitting back here taking pictures and having fun. And finally the bartender comes up to us and he's like, you know what? I don't actually care. Like, do you guys want a shot? We're like, yeah, sure. So we took shots. And then as you can see, I went cross-eyed doing a tequila shot. These are my favorite pictures. I love the sign back here that says, thanks for being a regular. Like, just so funny. And we just took a couple more photos at Tin Roof. It was a blast. And then we decided, after going to the place where we fell in love, we went to Broadway, which also so fucking fun. So glad I did this. This was right after our ceremony. We went and we just took a car and it drove us around with our videographer and our photographer for a whole hour, unfettered. It was just so amazing. And some of these pictures turned out so great. Jake's not smiling in that one. This one's cute. But I love this one. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to frame this. And this one. I mean, the Batman building is so iconic in Nashville, if you know. Truly, if you know, you know. And to just get this little dip photo, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. And so, yeah, these are kind of just some of our pictures from Broadway, walking together. This is obviously where, you know, we spent a lot of our time, where we fell in love. And then here's our ceremony. We came into Don't Stop Me 'Cause I'm having a good time, having a good time. Oh my gosh, not me singing every word. But we came in, danced together. We did our first dance to, it's called Lifetime by Justin Bieber. So sweet. I loved every second of it. Let me see if we practiced to dance a lot. And we did our little lift at the end, and it was so fun. And you guys can kind of see a sneak peek of my little white cowgirl boots that I turned into, and it was so great. Now, here was arguably, again, one of my favorite moments of the evening. My dad and I had a choreographed dance that we did, and he was so funny and he was so proud of himself. You can see all of our friends were dying laughing watching because he did the whole routine. Not well, but he did it. It was really, really funny. So we loved that. We then had a taco bar for dinner, which was great. Loved everything about that. And then we had the light up cowboy hats and glow sticks, and we just had fun. Our friends are a blast. Truly such a good time. They put us up on chairs and made us, I don't even know. I had way too much fun up there. I might have been served a little too much. Jake felt like he was going to fall the whole time. I had a blast. But we just danced and sang the night away. It was so fun. I know this picture is so silly. It's not even of me, but this is a girlfriend from college and a girlfriend from high school, and just seeing your best friends all together, there's really nothing like it. Truly, all our moms, our parents, it's so cute. My friend Sarah. And then this is the last moment I'll share of the wedding, and then we can move on from it. But I figured I'd give you guys a good recap. Was instead of a final last dance, like sweet and cute, in typical Chrissy style, we duetted No Air by Jordan Sparks and Chris Brown, and just sang at the top of our lungs and duetted it and danced and chugged our drinks together and walked out. And it was just truly the best night ever. So gosh, if you watched that, you basically came to my wedding. I hope you had a great time, right? Anyway, I'm really glad I got to share that with you guys. It was crazy how quickly the picture just turned over, but I'll definitely be posting a lot more on Instagram and all those things. But definitely one of the biggest questions I've been getting from friends and from coworkers is if I'm going to change my name. And the short answer is no. For podcasting, YouTube, social media purposes, for you guys, absolutely not. I've spent 5+, 6+ years building a brand as the Chrissy Clark. I'm not changing that name. That I'm happy to change it for like my kids, you know, like I want to be Mrs. Stout to my children or to my children's friends, and like I will be their mother, Chrissy Stout, you know, like I'm so excited to like legally take that on and everything. But for all intents and purposes here, I have no intention of changing my name. I like my name a lot. It was cute. I like the CC, you know, I like the alliteration names. So yeah, I'm not going to get rid of that for you guys. Another big question I get is, where am I honeymooning? And I want to share this story because it actually leads me to my big announcement that I'm going to make. So we had a honeymoon booked to Aruba, and I obviously work for myself / for contracts that are, it's imperative that I be working during election season. And so I decided that no matter what, if we were going to honeymoon or not, we couldn't honeymoon until after I got through this election. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, we'll just hold off on the honeymoon and we'll push it to around Thanksgiving time. My parents live in Florida. We'll drive down to Florida with the dog, and it'll probably be cheaper to fly to the Caribbean or wherever we want to go if we fly to Florida, right? Instead of Nashville. Nashville's airport's just kind of up and coming, I would say. So we decide, okay, cool. We're going to book a flight to Aruba, an all-inclusive in Aruba. And we started getting closer to the wedding, and both of us at separate times had said something like, I don't actually know if I want to go. Like, I really want to save. I don't really know if I want to go. And we were so excited about our wedding. We had no problem spending every last penny on our wedding, but we just didn't feel that way about honeymoon. And I feel like it's because we had just gone on a ton of vacations. We went to Peru last year. We went to Greece last year. We're going to Mexico twice next year for different weddings. We're like, we have so much to look forward to that we truly like just didn't feel the need to go on a honeymoon. So we knew we were going to be saving a lot of money, and we'd actually already spent we spent a lot of money up front on the flights and everything, and it's completely refundable. We just refunded it. So we're not going on a honeymoon, which leads me to my big announcement that we saved that money, and I'm now a homeowner. Kinda. It's crazy. The day before our wedding, October 4th, we initially signed on a house. It's being inspected literally as we speak, or as I speak into this microphone. But yeah, we bought a house. And so not only did I get married, I became a homeowner all in the same weekend. It was freaking wild. So I'm really excited. That's the big announcement. But I say I'm a homeowner kinda because I just need to be honest, and I don't know who this is going to hit, but I know it needs to be said, because if you've been following me for any amount of time on this YouTube channel, on Rumble, X, Facebook, the podcast, whatever, wherever you listen or watch this, you know I've been bitching on this show for so long about not being able to afford a house. And I complain about it all the time. And so it would be really a lie to come on and say, I got this house by myself, because I didn't. The truth is, at the rate of interest rates, which they got cut, now they're increasing, which sucks ass, the cost of living is so expensive. The truth is that there was no realistic way to afford a house anywhere near where we could live for Jake's job, be around our family, and afford the house. Like, there was no plausible way. So, as a wedding gift, my parents gave us a loan to buy our first house. And so I just want to say, I am so thankful. No part of what I'm about to say is supposed to come out as ungrateful or bratty. I am so thankful for my parents. But at the same time, I also feel really sad, because buying my first house is supposed to be this huge moment in a young adult's life. And you guys don't know, like, you don't know what you don't see on the internet. And obviously you see what you do see, and I'm sure it's evident that I work really hard. But of all the things that I am proud of who I am as a person, my work ethic is probably number one, chief among them. I have worked for everything I have ever wanted. I remember actually when I was working for the Daily Wire, a producer there was like, who are your parents? Like, how are you where you are? Like, who bought your way here? And I said, no one. I worked my ass off to get here. My parents don't have anything to do with the media. My dad is in tech, and my mom is now a real estate agent. She was a stay-at-home mom until like 3 or 4 years ago. So everything I've gotten here in the media sphere is not because my dad or my mom was somebody. I worked my ass off to get here. And I worked my ass off to be in this position where I am now. And I worked my ass off to be the sole breadwinner because my now husband became an entrepreneur and a businessman in the past year. And it took everything out of me to get us where we are today. I work countless hours 16, 17 days at a time before I even take a break off of work. You guys, I have to let you know that it hurt my heart to know that I am in the top 5% of earners in my age demographic, and I am still priced out of the market. And when I was talking about this behind these closed doors with my friends, I was like, it really hurts me because I'm such a hard worker and I can't afford a house. And it feels like shame and embarrassing. And I was like talking to my friends, and I would venture to say every single one, except for maybe one or two, said their parents also had to help them. And so I just figured if I came on my platform and was really honest and vulnerable about the fact that I, as a very hard worker and hard earner, still can't afford a house, it's okay. And it's also okay to take help because my parents want to help. Your parents want to help. But it is sad because they shouldn't have to, our parents shouldn't have to do this. They shouldn't be burdened with this, right? So I'm sharing this because obviously I'm obnoxiously real with you guys, but also this is a very sad reality that we live in. And I don't want to make this sad. This is such a happy experience, but I just needed to be honest with you because I really am excited. And I'm not hopeless. Like, Jake and I still can buy our first home. It's just going to become later in life. And this also made me think a lot about how do you start a family and buy a house in this economy? Because that ultimately was it. It really was for me, picking between holding off a family for a decently long time and being like a first mom at 35, or taking the assistance, I should say, from my family. And I certainly wasn't going to let pride get in the way of a future family. So it's so hard to navigate. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I'm also a little sad. I'm so excited for a new home, a new adventure, a new studio, all of that. I get to do it all with my husband. I'm so excited. But anyway, I just need to come on here and be honest, excited, revved up. Either way, I have some equity in it. I'm a homeowner, okay, in a way. But anyway, let's move on from the happy, sad, big announcement. Let's move on to the Call Her Daddy interview with Kamala Harris. This is all over the internet, and so I didn't want to just talk about this today. I wanted to talk about wedding, big announcement, and also hurricane stuff later. But I really want to talk about this interview because, like I said, I haven't been crazy up to date in the news. So this is just a topic that I tried to turn my cell phone off all weekend. And in the little use of social media I used, I seriously could not avoid this interview, no matter how much I tried. So naturally, I've got that. I don't think you're going to like all of them, and that's okay. But let me start off with the first one. I don't think Alex Cooper wanted this interview as much as people are painting it out to be. I think that the Harris campaign, or the White House and Kamala in her capacity in it, I think that team reached out to Call Her Daddy. And no matter who you are, how the hell do you say no to the sitting vice president and the Democratic candidate coming to sit down on your podcast? I don't really see much of an upside for her. This is bad for her audience. It's infighting among her audience. Half of the audience is going to hate her for this. I just think that this is probably not Alex Cooper's first choice. And if you're going to be honest with yourself, if you had a top podcast, and even if it wasn't your niche, you wouldn't say no to the opportunity to interview Kamala Harris, no matter who you are or how unprepared you are. Which leads me to believe that Alex was very much used by Kamala and the White House. That also really concerns me because I don't know whether she came on as her capacity as a candidate or her capacity as the vice president. Because I don't know why it's like, oh, it's not okay. It's still weird. It's more okay that she went on Call Her Daddy in her capacity as a candidate than as the vice president. There's something weird about the vice president sitting down on a sex podcast. Now, I know she technically is both, but you can go on not being like, I don't know how to put it. You can go on more in the candidate role. And I really feel like she leaned into the fact that she's like, I'm the vice president. Let me sit down for this sex podcast. It was weird. That part was weird. But back to my initial thought about how I think Kamala or the White House really used Alex Cooper. We know for a fact from other journalists that the White House and Kamala's campaign has a very strong grip on what questions are allowed to be asked of Kamala. And if you listen to the introduction of the podcast episode, Alex Cooper gave this whole explainer on why she did this whole interview. And she specifically said that she was allowed to ask any questions she wanted of the vice president, which means one of two things to me. Either one, Alex is a liar and they gave her questions and she's covering for them. Or two, this is the White House / Kamala campaign, whichever it is, openly insulting Alex Cooper's intelligence and her not realizing it. Like, they won't let any journalists ask Kamala questions, but they will let Alex Cooper because they think she's too dumb to push back. And I think that was kind of the theme of the whole interview, was women being too dumb. The premise of the podcast, again, like the intro part that Alex gave, was that Alex was going to interview Kamala Harris about women's issues, and then they proceeded to talk only about abortions. That's fucking misogynistic and incredibly reductive to say we only care about abortions. I'm sure you've heard that from countless podcasts. This is not a hot take, but it's just my take. Like, I find it reductive. I care about the economy. I care about border security. Those are all women's issues. They're issues that affect women. We're all human beings in this world. We have to realize it. And I do think that Alex had a semblance of self-awareness to realize she's probably not the right person to talk about those things. So I applaud her in that aspect. But I did find it really reductive to say that we're going to talk about abortion because all women care about is the ability to kill their baby. That's a big lie, right? And the problem with the interview writ large, again, was the lies. And also, this is where I will hold Alex Cooper culpable. Her lack of preparedness was a joke. I think you can make a lot of legitimate criticism of Alex Cooper in general outside of this interview. Being unprepared is not one of them. But then in this case, one of the biggest interviews she's ever had on the show, she comes incredibly unprepared. And it was a failure on the preparedness part. With an interview of this magnitude, I just feel like it's on Alex. It's also on the whole team. Like, somebody should have stopped her and said, hey, we should bring in a team of women and experts on the left and the right to agree on facts so that Alex is as prepared and as possible, and she's ready to, make sure that everything that's being said is at least truthful, or she knows the truth when Kamala tries to spin. I think it's really stupid of any podcaster to think that people are going to come on your show and tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. They're on a podcast where they have access to the largest female audience of all time. Come on. Like, you should have done a little bit of due diligence, a little bit of research, a little bit more preparedness. That is entirely on Alex. And I mean, you could put a tiny bit of the blame on her team, but that really is on her. So yeah, that's definitely some of my thoughts. Also, in Alex's intro video that I mentioned, where she kind of explained why she did this, she did say she invited Donald Trump on the show to have a similar conversation. And I want to kind of unpack all of my thoughts on this, but my friend Mary Margaret Olahan is suggesting that Trump should not go on Call Her Daddy, and this is her reasoning why. MMO's tweet reads, seeing a lot of people suggesting that Trump is stupid to not go on Call Her Daddy. She says Alex Cooper is not the fair and balanced interviewer that some of us seem to have painted her as, which I don't think really anybody is, but maybe she's seeing that online. She said aside from the fact that she made her name talking graphically about sex, she is openly pro-abortion. She promoted multiple pro-abortion misinfo narratives in this Harris interview, and she specifically said that she would have Trump on to, quote, have a meaningful, in-depth conversation about women's rights in this country. The basic premise of her invite is that abortion is a woman's right. That interview would be a disaster. Now, I do want to caveat this by saying that Alex Cooper is not anti-Republican by any stretch of the means. It's been widely reported that Alex's best friend and roommate is, or former roommate, I should say, her name is Lauren, is very Republican. And Alex herself is married to a man that I would be wildly shocked at if he wasn't a Republican. Alex herself, I think, is a apolitical / pro-abortion person. And so if you pull her aside from maybe her abortion views, I also wouldn't be shocked if she was somewhat more conservative when it came to taxes and general conservative economic policies, right? So I get what you're saying, because she's so pro-abortion fanatics tend to be really wildly unfair. I don't know. I don't think she's like the worst. I just don't think she's suited for this at all. I don't know why Trump would go on this. To give Mary Margaret Olhan credit, because she's awesome, by the way, I think this tweet would be 100% accurate if the invite was for JD Vance. Like, no, he should not go on. But Donald Trump does not hold those same pro-life views. Like, it's so interesting because he was the most action-oriented president. Therefore, he got a lot done for the pro-life movement that the movement has pretty much been unable to do for itself in overturning Roe versus Wade. But Trump didn't do that with pen and paper. He's not inherently pro-life. He just appointed conservative judges to the bench that overturned law that was widely regarded as crap law to begin with, or as legislating from the bench, essentially. He's constantly said he would leave abortion up to the states, that he wouldn't implement any federal abortion bans. If anything, he's moved the Republican Party more to the center on the issue of abortion, generally speaking. The problem with a Call Her Daddy Trump interview isn't the substance of the conversation that would happen. It would be Alex Cooper's unpreparedness, and therefore leading her audience astray to try to fit her own personal biases in the questions that she asked. And then I think Trump is probably not the best person to speak to a younger generation of women, generally speaking. I think if JD Vance had Trump's messages about abortion, or Trump had JD Vance's ability to pinpoint the facts and weaknesses of Alex Cooper and her arguments and messaging, then that would be in an interview worth doing. And honestly, I would be like, fuck yeah, that'd be an awesome interview to watch. But strategically, in the grand scheme of things, given the people that we have, the players that we're playing with, I agree with MMO that this probably isn't an interview worth doing for Donald Trump. But that's okay, because Trump has been going on other podcasts, and I don't think the Kamala Harris campaign anticipated the backlash they were going to get from the Call Her Daddy interview. Trump went on and did this whole full in-depth interview with Dave Ramsey, and then Kamala decided to do, she declined the Dave Ramsey one, and then decided to do the Call Her Daddy one. And then Trump is probably going to decline the Call Her Daddy one. So it kind of evens out. And I don't think that the Kamala team anticipated that people would be so reactive to that. And yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people who are voting based on the economy, which I think is more people than we let on to believe, they're going to wonder why the Kamala campaign, thinks that it's more important to go on a sex podcast than an economics podcast, right? But I will say, final thoughts on this before we move on. I like to issue warnings of, how do I put it, reality to my conservative audience. I went on the Spotify charts today, and when you search the top female podcasts, the top podcasts of women, for women, are Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy and the Hawk Tuah Girl. This is what women in America like. You don't have to agree. I don't agree with it. I think it's fucking brain rot. But it's what women like. And if you want to speak to them, this is the place to do it. And remember that those women listening to brain rot podcasts, they still vote. And they turn out at higher rates than men their age. Therefore, they are a more coveted demographic to get. So just beware. I think everything that we've been seeing about Kamala Harris in this interview on Call Her Daddy, it might come across as negative on your social media algorithms because they are created for you. But I went on left-wing social media. It's playing really well in those circles. And that's where most women fall already. So just be wary. That's all I'll say. Anyway, let's move on to our last topic for today, which is hurricane conspiracy theories. So I was reading my morning news today, and I came across this headline from the Daily Caller. It says, North Carolina State Board of Education, or State Board of Elections, alters rules in wake of Hurricane Helene disaster. And this reminded me of my spray tan. Probably like, what the fuck? it reminded me of this wacky conversation I had on Thursday. I had to go get a spray tan for my wedding. And I was chatting with the spray tan woman about my job. And generally speaking, when people ask me what I do, I kind of gauge the situation and I either say influencer or journalist because you just never know. Sometimes when I'm with like really girly girls, I say influencer because they'll be like, oh, that's so cool. If I'm with like a more respectable crowd, not that women aren't, that sounded really wrong, but like if I'm with like more a professional crowd, I'll say journalist, okay? One of the two. And so I kind of told her, I'm like, oh, I'm like a political influencer. That's kind of the best way to describe my job. And we were chatting and I didn't want to say what side of the aisle I was on because I just didn't know where she fell. Just looking at her, I couldn't tell. So anyway, she starts opening up to me. Long story short, I find out that she's really conservative. And it was great. I'm like, okay, cool, me too, whatever. We start chatting. And at the end, I'm wrapping up. I'm, putting the little powder on your hands and stuff. And she started talking to me about the hurricanes in the election. And people always ask me for my take on the election. And I say the same thing anytime. I say, if anybody tells you they know who is going to win this election, stop listening to them immediately because they're idiots. This is a 50-50 tie. No one can tell you who's going to win, okay? And so she starts going on. She's like, well, I really think that the left is going to win. And she suggested to me that the hurricanes, specifically Hurricane Helene, was exacerbated by the government because the government put stuff in the water, and the government moved the hurricane to Republican parts of North Carolina in hopes of changing the outcome of the election and utilizing the disaster to mine lithium or some shit. And I was sitting there looking at her like, bitch, you sound crazy. I literally looked at her and was like, how does the government move the weather? Like, explain that to me. I'm interested. Like, this sounds like some Jewish space laser shit or something. I don't know. So anyway, I had that conversation on Thursday. I then come to my morning news this morning and I start reading that headline from the Daily Caller. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this reminded me of my conversation from Thursday, totally piqued my interest. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to start researching this to see if there's just any validity. That's all I want to know. So if you Google, I think I Googled, what did I Google? It was like, government puts stuff in water that exacerbates hurricanes. I think that's exactly what I put in. You put that into Google, you get no results. So it's like, okay, I'll put this into DuckDuckGo. You get stuff, but it's nothing that verifies or even shows the facts of this conspiracy. Instead, what you get are fact checks from CBS News. And while, of course, I am not advocating for spreading rumors baselessly, I didn't find anything about this to be factually correct. When I read this fact check, though, it felt like they were hiding something. Okay, let me pull it up for you. The headline reads, misinformation has surged following Hurricane Helene. Oh, I can feel my voice going out. I'm sorry, guys. It's just been so much talking with everybody in town. Anyway, the article reads, some of the more extreme conspiracy theories taking root online claim politicians manipulated the weather to target Republican areas and the government is trying to seize land in North Carolina to mine lithium. Now, I would love to just go, okay, yeah, this is all false, whatever. But they don't actually refute any claims here. This one says federal aid is being diverted to support immigrants. These claims are false. They don't actually refute the point with facts. They just say FEMA says otherwise. Trump says this, FEMA says this. We believe FEMA. What if FEMA's lying? Have you thought for a second that FEMA's lying? So interesting that they just don't actually fact check. They just kind of say, well, this is what FEMA says. That's not a fact check. That's just saying somebody says otherwise. Then it goes, storm victims will receive only $750. It says this claim is misleading. It's just not full context. It doesn't mean it's a lie. That's not fact checking. Again, volunteers and donations are being blocked. These claims are misleading. Again, there's no fact check. It's just saying that, just that statement alone is not enough, which is fine. Like, at the same time, you can say things that are partially true. That doesn't mean it's a lie. It's not the whole truth. That's fine. That's not a fact check. That's just additional information. Write a fucking article about it. Don't do a fact check. Fact checks are so stupid. This one, government is withholding aid to Republican areas. This claim lacks evidence. It's not a lie. It's just, how do I describe it? FEMA is not advocating for giving people money or assistance based on where they are. It just happens that Republican areas have been hit stronger. That's true. But again, this isn't about how do I put this? I have not done my research entirely on what is true and what is not. I'm happy to get back to you with the information of what is true and what is not. My general consensus here is that I think most of this is the whole general conspiracy theory is false. But when I read fact checks like this that don't actually fact check anything, they just say, oh, you say this, well, someone else said this. That's not helpful to anybody. Again, I'm not suggesting that any of this is true or false. I'm just suggesting that sometimes fact checks make conspiracy theories more ingrained in society. Like, we seriously need to get rid of them. They are so ineffective and mostly just like clickbait written by garbage journalists. They seriously need to go. That did nothing to help me. If anything, it made me wonder why they don't want me thinking that. Do you know what I mean? And why I had to go through all these hoops. I couldn't even just like get that fact check on Google. That's so weird to me. But anyway, let me know in the comments whether you believe this conspiracy. Like, do you believe the government can control the weather? I don't think so, but I'm just very interested to hear what you guys have to say. And while you're in the comments, if you're a real one and you made it to the end of today's show, will you drop the house emoji as an homage to my big announcement? Thank you so much, friends. I'll be back here tomorrow with another YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook only video, and we'll be back Thursday with a regular podcast. See you then. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment about how beautiful, stunning, and funny I am. And if you want more content based in logic, be sure to click over here for more videos and clips of my show. If you have the means to financially support the show, consider purchasing from my merch line, Based Apparel, linked right below. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends.